Norway is often held up as the gold standard of modern economies. Politicians praise it, economists admire it, ordinary people point to it as proof that capitalism can work without chaos, corruption, or extreme inequality. For decades, Norway has been described as the country that did everything right. Small population, stable democracy, enormous natural resources, smart long-term planning. But what if Norway is about to face the biggest economic test in its history? Not because of poverty, war, or mismanagement, but because of too much wealth. Earlier this year, Norway uncovered something that could fundamentally reshape the global economy: the world's largest known reserve of easily accessible phosphate. A discovery so large that it effectively doubles the planet's supply of one of the most strategically important materials on Earth. This isn't just another resource find. This could make Norway richer than any country in history, and history shows us that this is exactly where things often go wrong. A country that was already exceptionally wealthy. Before this discovery, Norway was already one of the richest societies ever measured. With a population of just under 5.5 million people, Norwegians consistently ranked among the world's wealthiest citizens across nearly every economic metric: income, assets, public services, and quality of life. Economists don't agree on a single way to define wealth, but no matter how you measure it, Norway always lands near the top. And this prosperity wasn't accidental. Long before most countries figured out how to manage natural resources responsibly, Norway built institutions designed to protect its economy not just for decades, but for generations, which makes what happened next all the more extraordinary. The discovery that changes everything. In early July, geological surveys confirmed what many experts now call the most significant mineral discovery of the century: 77 billion tons of phosphate located in northern Norway. Phosphate is not flashy. It doesn't dominate headlines like oil or rare earth metals, but it is absolutely essential. Without phosphate, modern agriculture collapses. Fertilizer production grinds to a halt. Battery technology stalls. Solar panels become far more expensive. Food security for billions of people is threatened, conservatively estimated. This discovery is worth around $24 trillion. Even after accounting for extraction costs, environmental protections, and logistics, this single resource has the potential to elevate Norway from very wealthy to the undisputed richest country on Earth, surpassing even extreme outliers like Monaco or Liechtenstein. The obvious question is simple: will Norway actually become that rich? Why this is both a gift and a risk. On the surface, the discovery seems like a universally positive event. Norwegians benefit, global food systems benefit, renewable energy production benefits. But beneath that optimism lies a much darker reality. There are already countries whose economies depend heavily on phosphate exports. A sudden, massive new supply threatens to destabilize those nations, reshape trade relationships, and create new geopolitical tensions. Phosphate is classified by major powers, including the EU, the United States, and China, as a strategic material. That means it isn't just an economic asset, it's a geopolitical one. And this is not the first time a country has discovered enormous phosphate reserves. History offers a warning. When natural wealth becomes a curse. There was once a country that discovered vast phosphate reserves and, within a few short years, became one of the wealthiest populations on Earth. Living standards skyrocketed. Government revenues exploded. Citizens believed prosperity was guaranteed forever. Today, that same country suffers from widespread poverty and economic collapse, poorer than it was before the discovery. This phenomenon has a name: the resource curse. It happens when sudden wealth overwhelms institutions, distorts incentives, and replaces long-term planning with short-term gain. The uncomfortable truth is this: it would be naive to believe Norway is immune. Understanding how Norway plans to manage this discovery offers a rare opportunity to explore some of the most important economic questions of our time. Why do some countries turn natural wealth into prosperity while others destroy themselves with it? What separates economic success from long-term failure? And can even the best-run economies stumble when the stakes become too high? Norway wasn't always rich. To understand why Norway stands out, we need to rewind the clock. Before the 1970s, Norway was not particularly wealthy. It wasn't poor, but by Western European standards, it was unremarkable. Fishing dominated the economy. Industrial output was limited. Living standards lagged behind its Scandinavian neighbors. That changed dramatically in the late 1960s when Norway discovered massive oil and natural gas reserves in the North Sea. But the discovery itself wasn't what made Norway successful. What mattered was how the country responded. A different model for resource wealth. Instead of handing control to foreign corporations or allowing private interests to dominate, Norway took a unique approach. The government created a state-owned energy company, later known as Equinor, and required that the state maintain at least 50% ownership in every oil production license. The logic was simple. The oil belonged to the people, so the profits should too. At the same time, Norway didn't shut out private companies entirely. Exploration is risky and expensive, and without profit incentives, much of the oil would never have been found in the first place. This balance made Norway attractive to investors while ensuring the public captured an unusually large share of the revenue. Over time, this approach generated enormous income, not just from oil extraction, but from refining, processing, and exporting energy across Europe. Turning oil into stability, not chaos, many oil-rich countries earned vast sums, but few kept that wealth. Norway did, partly because of luck, but mostly because of restraint. As a NATO member with a stable political system, Norway avoided many of the geopolitical conflicts that plagued other resource-rich nations during the Cold War. Its small population also mattered. Revenues were not spread thin across tens of millions of citizens. But the hardest challenge wasn't collecting money. It was deciding what not to do with it. Why Norway didn't hand out free money. Some countries used resource revenues to fund generous handouts, low taxes, and massive subsidies. Initially, this felt good. Citizens saw immediate benefits. But these systems often collapsed. Venezuela is a textbook example. Oil revenues funded social programs and low taxes, but they also created political competition over who could spend the most. When oil prices fell and sanctions followed, the economy unraveled. Other places, like Alaska, distribute oil revenues directly to citizens. But Alaska benefits from being part of a much larger, stable economy. Norway chose a different path. It taxed heavily. High taxes, quiet cities, massive savings. By global standards, Norway's taxes are extremely high. Income taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, value-added taxes, often reaching 25% or more. Yet Norwegian cities are surprisingly modest. No towering skyscrapers, no artificial islands, no extravagant megaprojects. Instead of spending resource revenues immediately, Norway created a national savings account, the Government Pension Fund Global, often called the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Today, that fund exceeds $1.6 trillion. That's nearly $330,000 for every man, woman, and child in the country.